Say it with me now. I can't believe it's time to look at our releases. Because I can't believe it, but it is time to look at the books that are coming out next month in March. There are so many good books. I don't know what ones I'm gonna get to. I have my fingers crossed. I hope that I'll get to a decent number of them, but please do let me know in the comments which book you are the most excited about to read in March. Do you have a new release that has rocketed to the top of your TBR, or do you have something on your backlist that you have been meaning to pick up for ages and this is the month you plan on doing it? I'd love to hear from you, and if you're interested in seeing what I actually end up reading from this list or otherwise next month, then please do subscribe to the channel to see any updates. On the 3rd of March, we have Starshipped by Sebastian. Sebastian writes some amazing historical fiction. I've really loved her books in the past. This one though, this is her, as the blurb says, long-awaited foray into contemporary romance. So I'm really excited to see what she's going to do with it and what her writing is like when it doesn't have all that historical detailing. Her romances are always really full of chemistry. That is always what I come out really impressed by. So I think that even in a contemporary setting, this is going to be a really, really solid book. Simon and Charlie, actors on the long-running sci-fi show, can't stand one another. Charlie is impetuous, outgoing, and basically feral, and Simon thinks he should have stayed in reality television where he belongs. They've spent the better part of a decade quarrelling over the spotlight and pretty much everything else, and everybody in the industry knows it. Now that Simon's contract is finally done, he can move to New York, start fresh with work he actually likes, and get away from Charlie. Simon's only problem is that people might assume he's been pushed off the show due to being impossible to work with. And he is kind of difficult to work with. He doesn't get along with people, unlike Charlie, who somehow tricked everyone in the show into adoring him despite some outrageously bad on-set behaviour during the show's first season. Simon would rather never have to see Charlie again, but reluctantly agrees to stage a very public friendship during the short term before he moves. When Charlie has to leave town to deal with a family emergency, this means Simon comes along. Their road trip brings Simon to places he would never have willingly chosen to visit, and he finds he's not actually having a terrible time. The more he gets to know Charlie, the more Simon suspects he's underestimated his former co-worker. Simon also realises that after 7 years, Charlie might know him better than anyone ever has. Even stranger, Charlie seems to be starting to actually like him, despite knowing him so well. Still, Simon is about to move 3,000 miles away, so whatever's starting between him and Charlie can't really amount to anything, right? On the 10th, we have the second book in Olivia Waite's Dorothy Gentleman series. This is Nobody's Baby. These books are queer, cosy sci-fi mysteries that run about 150 pages. The first one I was really anticipating. I was so stoked to read it. And honestly, it did let me down a little, but I think that's because I didn't feel it had enough space to do either thing. The mystery felt a little undercooked, and I didn't feel like I got enough immersion in that sci-fi world. I do struggle with sci-fi, so I probably needed longer to get into the world and have a mystery develop. So I think I personally would have enjoyed that first book, Murder by Memory, if it had been a full-length novel, if it had had an extra 100 pages. I'm hoping though now that that book gave me the world set up, that I'll be able to go into this second book and really just enjoy the setting and enjoy the mystery and the characters, because I did think it had a lot of potential. Welcome to the HMS Fairweather, Her Majesty's most luxurious interstellar passenger liner. Room and board are included, new bodies are graciously provided upon request, and should you desire a rest between lifetimes, your mind shall be carefully preserved in a glass in the library, shielded from every danger. A wild baby appears. Dorothy Gentleman, ship detective, is put to the test once again when an infant is mysteriously left on her nephew's doorstep. Fertility is supposed to be on pause during the Fairweather's journey across the stars, but humans have a way of breaking any rule you set them. Who produced this child, and why did they abandon him? And as her nephew and his partner get more and more attached, How can Dorothy prevent her colleague and rival detective Leloup, a stickler for law and order, from classifying the baby as a stowaway or a piece of luggage? Told through Dorothy's delightfully shrewd POV, this novella series is an ode to the cosy mystery taken to the stars with a fresh new sci-fi take. Also on the 10th of March we have Hell's Heart by Alexis Hall, and I kind of start to feel like maybe when I say these are the most anticipated books, you're not gonna like that I'm a little bit apprehensive about this one too. But this is Alexis Hall's queer sci-fi reimagining of Moby Dick. Moby Dick's a novel I've never read, but I have understood it to be incredibly long and incredibly intimidating. So adding the sci-fi element to that is not something that I would ever really have been intrigued by. However, I don't think I've ever read an Alexis Hall book that I didn't utterly love. So this being an auto by author for me is really pulling this book along. I'm a little bit apprehensive, but I am determined to at least give this one a try. So this could be one that pushes me out of my comfort zone. It's gonna really make for a good book when I am feeling that need to try something completely new. A small party go hunting for a giant space creature and experience grand adventure, love and loss along the way. Earth is a ruin, and the scattered remains of humanity scavenge what they can from the stars. This under the watchful auspices of a grab bag of collectives, corporations and churches. These are all that remains of what we once called society. Having long exhausted any conventional sources of energy, life in the solar system is now sustained by a volatile, hallucinogenic substance. This harvested from the brains of vast crustacean-like leviathans that swim the atmospheric currents of Jupiter. Finding herself with no money and little to occupy her groundside, the narrator, I, takes a commission aboard the hunterback Picode as it sets out in pursuit of these leviathans. However, once aboard, she finds herself pulled inexorably into the orbit of the bark's captain, a charismatic but frantically driven woman who the narrator names only as A. As the Picode plunges ever deeper into the turbulent, monster-hunted atmosphere of the gas giant, the narrator begins to lose herself in the eerie world of leviathan hunting and the captain's increasingly insistent delusions. The only thing that might keep her grounded is the bond she develops with Q, a woman from the wreck of old Earth, whose skin is marked with holographic light and who remembers things others have lost. Also on the 10th of March we have The Fox and the Devil by Kiersten Waite coming out, and this is one that I've actually already read, but I'm highly anticipating getting to see other people read it because I really enjoyed this one and I can't wait to see it start to pop up in reading vlogs. This was a historical sapphic gothic mystery that really heavily pulls from European vampire lore. I had a really good time with the gothic vibes of this one, with the characters, with the beautiful way that Kiersten Waite paints all these different European cities right at the turn of the 20th century. Annika has a complicated relationship with her father, Abraham van Helsing, doctor, scientist and madman devoted to studying vampires, up until the night she comes home to find him murdered with a surreally beautiful woman looming over his body. A woman who leaves no trace behind other than the dreams and nightmares that plague Annika every night. Spurred by her desire for vengeance and armed with the latest in forensic and investigatory techniques, Annika puts together a team of detectives to catch her mysterious serial killer. Because her father isn't the only inexplicably dead body, there's a trail of victims across Europe and Annika is certain they're all connected. But during the years spent hunting the killer, Annika keeps some crucial evidence to herself. Infuriatingly coy letters addressed only to Annika, occasionally soaked in blood, and always signed Diavola, Devil. The obsession is mutual, and all the more dangerous for it. The closer Annika gets to her devil though, the less sense the world makes. Maybe her father wasn't a madman after all. Diavola seems to be something much worse than a serial killer, and much harder to destroy. Because as Annika unearths more of Diavola's tragic past, she suspects there's still a heart somewhere in that undead body. A heart that beats for Annika alone. Then we have When I Was Death by Alexis Henderson. I really enjoyed The House of Hunger, which was a YA sapphic vampire historical. I had a great time with it, although I do know that the ratings on it were kind of mixed. But I have heard great things about Henderson's debut, The Year of the Witchling. I've just never got around to it. So I think that this one could be another really good YA horror. Rosalind Volk isn't herself anymore. It's been a year since her sister Adeline died in the woods under mysterious circumstances, and Rosalind is still tormented by her absence. So when the elusive caravan of girls that Adeline spent her last summer with rolls back into town, Rosalind joins them to finally figure out what happened to her sister. Strange, beautiful and intriguing, the girls are closed off from the world. And, as it turns out, they're brought together by a force more sinister than Rosalind's nightmares could have conjured. Death himself. Death has spared the girls from untimely endings, and to pay for their lives, the girls travel the country reaping souls on his behalf. Now Rosalind must decide if finding closure is worth the price of striking the same deal. These Shattered Spires by Cassidy, Ellis, Salter has so many of, I think, my favourite tropes in it. It has an isolated setting. It's described as being queer and gothic. It has rival magicians fighting it out in a deadly competition. It sounds like everything I'm going to love. The comp titles are a little concerning to me personally because The Atlas Six and Gideon the Ninth are books that I didn't fully connect with. But I still think there's a really high chance that this is going to be a 5-star read for me. And based on the summary, and I'm a little apprehensive about saying it, but maybe even be one of my top books of the whole year. This is one that I have incredibly high expectations for, and I'm not seeing nearly enough people talk about it because when I read it, I'm gonna want to talk about it with everyone. Beneath a tooth-filled sky, the world rots. Those yet to succumb to the curse of decay inhabit Four Spires Castle, home to arcanists from across the 4 magical disciplines: blood, bone, stone, and botany. The castle is thrown into chaos when the ruler of Four Spires is assassinated. To crown a new ruler, the arcanists and their human familiars are forced to kill or be killed in the Slaughter, a bloody fight for succession at the top of the 5th tower. Familiars, both servants and sources of power to arcanists, are forbidden from even speaking. For them, the slaughter means certain death. When Nixie, a botanical familiar, learns that her fate can be avoided and the rotting curse of Four Spires lifted, she'll stop at nothing to save herself. But she must work with familiars from across the rival disciplines. Not easy when one of them is your Bone Witch ex-girlfriend Taro. Find 4 magical keys and climb the deadly 5th tower. With just 48 hours until the slaughter begins, Nixie and Taro must forge an unlikely alliance with rival familiars Ellis and Elliot. Together, the 4 weirdos must battle reimagined skeletons, poisonous and possessed plants, undead nuns, and the deadliest enemies of all, each other. Then we move into March 17th with The Somewhat Wicked Witch of Brigandale by C.M. Waggoner. I have read a C.M. Waggoner book in the past, but only one, and I think it was one of her more underrated books. I really loved it. I really liked her sense of humour, her way of writing romance, her quirky characters and settings. So I have really high hopes for this one. I also just love the title, and I'm honestly going to try it largely based on that. This is described as being cozy, but personally I love the political angle. We have a mother who adores her son, but is going to have to sabotage his ascension to the throne, and that just sounds like something I'll absolutely just live for. Once upon a time, a somewhat wicked witch named Gritzella lived in a cozy little cottage in the dark forest of Brigandale. She dispensed herbs and tinctures at reasonable prices, met with her slightly oddball coven on a regular basis, and had absolutely no need of any further company whatsoever, thank you very much. But then one afternoon, Gritzella came home to find a screaming infant on her doorstep. Against all her better judgment, she took the baby in. She named him Bradley. 18 years later, Bradley has grown into a bafflingly likeable young man under Gritzella's extremely tolerant, one might even say doting, eye. But the witch's hopes for an unremarkable yet fulfilling life for her son are shattered when small woodland animals start prophesying that he is the lost prince and should ascend to the throne. Bradley ignores Gritzella's advice that prophecies and talking chipmunks are to be avoided at all costs, and sets off for the capital. But soon confusion and chaos are reigning, and scheming courtiers are using Bradley for their own ends. Sometimes a witch has to roll up her sleeves and take matters into her own cauldron. So Gritzella sets off to bring about the downfall of her darling son. I know that I've talked about this one before. In fact, I think it might have been on my most anticipated books of the full year. But this is the third book in Benjamin Stevenson's Ernest Cunningham mystery series. Everyone in this bank is a thief. We started out with Everyone in My Family Has Killed Someone, and I really love the way these books are written. They really feel like your classic golden age mysteries. Benjamin Stevenson makes a big point of fair play in his mysteries. In theory, supposedly, you have all the information that Ernest has, and I guess supposedly you can solve these mysteries yourself, but I'm always just there for the ride. I love the way they're written, I love the humour, I love the characters. I've always had a really good time with them, and I don't think this is going to be any different. 10 suspects, 10 heists, a mystery only Ernest Cunningham can solve. I've spent the last few years solving murders, but a bank heist is a new one, even for me. I've never been a hostage before. The doors are chained shut, no one in or out, which means that when someone in the bank is murdered, hostages become suspects. The bank robber, the manager, the security guard, the kid, the film producer, the priest, the receptionist, the patient, the caterer, me. Turns out more than one person planned to rob the bank today. You can steal more from a bank than just money. Who is stealing what? Are they willing to kill for it? And can I solve the crime before the police kick down the door and rescue us? I think this might be the month of really exciting gothic releases, because in addition to the books I've already talked about this month, we're also getting the sequel to Strange Beasts by Susan J. Morris. This one is Wayward Souls. In the first book we followed the daughter of Mina Harper from Dracula and the daughter of Professor Moriarty from Sherlock Holmes. As they went off together to Paris to investigate a mystery, they traipsed through the catacombs, they visited the opera house. The book was full of beautifully gothic historical detailing, and I had a really, really fun time with it. I think want more from some of the elements. I felt like the historical setting was fantastic, but I wanted more from the paranormal, and I really wanted to see more of the romance develop. This one sounds like it'll solve both those things, so I'm really excited to see how we pull in other literary characters and how we flesh out this world. Monsters are rising in Ireland, and the only ones who can stop them are two women who might just be more dangerous than the beasts they fight. Samantha Harker and Dr. Helena Moriarty might have solved the Paris case, but that doesn't mean the Royal Society for the Study of Abnormal Phenomena trusts them. Sam's power to see into the minds of monsters is a slippery slope to corruption. Worse, Hell's uncanny habit of turning up wherever her notorious father's hand is felt has the society questioning whether he exists at all, or whether it's been Hell all along. So when Special Branch requests aid in Ireland, the heart of Professor Moriarty's hidden empire, they send another agent along to monitor. Van Helsing, who is perpetually suspicious of Sam, and a bit of an arse. Their investigation takes them from ancient ruins to the clandestine clubs of the rich and powerful, untangling the mysteries of magic, monsters and men. But even as Sam and Hell fall deeper into each other's orbit, the secrets between them multiply. Things Hell can't bear to confess. Things Sam doesn't dare confide. Things which not only put Sam in terrible danger from Van Helsing, but leave her haunted by death omens, mysterious black feathers, and a song no one else can seem to hear. And as ever, Professor Moriarty lurks in the shadows, waiting to make his next move. On March 24th, we have the new Kingfisher. This is another standalone, Wolfwood. It's a historical horror set in Appalachia. Kingfisher is almost always an autobiography for me, and I have actually already read this one as an ARC. I just need to decide whether or not I'm buying a physical copy. The year is 1899. And Sonia Wilson is a scientific illustrator without work, prospects or hope. When the reclusive Dr. Hadler offers her a position illustrating his vast collection of insects, Sonia jumps at the chance to move to his North Carolina manor house and put her talents to use. But soon enough she finds there are darker things at work than the Carolina woods. What happened to her predecessor, Hadler's wife? Why are the animals acting so strangely? And what is behind the peculiar whispers about blood thieves? With the aid of the housekeeper and the local healer, Sonia discovers that Hadler's entomological studies have taken him down a dark road full of parasitic maggots that burrow into human flesh, and his monstrous experiments may grow to encompass his newest illustrator as well. My battery died, but I do have two more that I really wanted to share with you. These both come out on the last day of the month. One is an old favourite author that I come back to again and again, and one is a brand new to me author. The first book that's coming out is Truffle Trouble by Amanda Flower. This is the 10th book in her Amish Sweet Shop Mystery series. The series follows Bailey, who is a top chocolatier in New York. When her grandfather dies in the first book, she goes back to this small town of Harvest in Ohio to help her grandmother and ends up taking over the running of the family sweet shop. Her grandparents are Amish, so Bailey ends up working kind of as an intermediary between the two different communities that coexist in Harvest, while obviously it's a cozy mystery series, stumbling upon corpses at just about every turn. In this installment, we are into summer wedding season. Bailey's own wedding is just around the corner, and of course something goes wrong. I absolutely love this series. I love the characters. Bailey is a fantastic sleuth. I think Flower really manages to balance that get up and go you need in a sleuth to have her actively investigating, to feel like the sleuth is finding the clues, the author isn't just providing them, but without feeling like she's overbearing or obnoxious. I also love all the other characters we get in Harvest. Some, like Bailey or her fiance, her family, feel more grounded, and then we have some slightly quirkier characters that come and go as needed, and that just gives the town itself this really fun vibe. There's always something going on, but it lets Flower pull it back down, make things a little bit more serious and a little more grounded when she needs to. Summer is finally upon the village of Harvest, Ohio, nestled in picturesque Amish County, and folks are abuzz over their very own Bailey King's upcoming June wedding. The Amish candy shop owner and star of TV's Bailey's Amish Sweets is marrying Holmes County Sheriff Aidan Brodie. To sweeten the occasion will be a sumptuous giant chocolate truffle wedding cake made especially for the happy couple by Bailey's New York City mentor Jean-Pierre. Other than the risk of the ring bearer, Jethro the pig, taking a bite out of the confection, what could go wrong? As it turns out, a food-related disaster does befall the day. But with Bailey in the mix, it's nothing so pedestrian as a peckish pig. At the reception, a wedding guest dies after sampling the hors d'oeuvres. Cafe owner and new caterer Darcy Wooden, who made all the food except for the desserts, is pegged by police as the #1 suspect. Even more incriminating, the victim is one of Darcy's ex-boyfriends. Still, Bailey is friends with Darcy, and she's certain the young woman is innocent. Even before the first dance with her new husband, Bailey's on the case. Can she help solve it in time for her honeymoon, or will a killer try to end her happily ever after before it's even begun? Then the very last book that I want to talk about is The Geomagician by Jennifer Mandula. This is giving me Memoirs of Lady Trent series vibes, which was a series I absolutely loved, The Natural History of Dragons. But it's also giving me maybe for fans of Emily Wilde. That wasn't one I particularly enjoyed, but I really enjoy these kind of light academia books, and I think this one sounds like it'll be a lot of fun. When a Victorian fossil hunter discovers a baby pterodactyl, she vows to protect him with the help of a fellow scholar, her former fiancé, in this enchanting and transporting historical fantasy. Mary Anning wants to be a geomagician, a paleontologist who uses fossils to wield magic. But since the Geomagical Society of London refuses to admit women, she's stuck selling her discoveries to tourists instead. When an ancient egg hatches in her hands, revealing a lovable baby pterodactyl, Mary names Ajax, she knows this is the kind of scientific find that could make her career, if she's strategic. Mary contacts the society about her discovery, and they demand to take possession of Ajax. Their emissary is none other than Henry Stanton, a distinguished and infuriatingly handsome scholar, and the man who once broke Mary's heart. Henry claims he believes in the brilliant Mary and that he only wants to help her obtain the respect she deserves. She knows she can't trust her fellow scholars who want to discredit her and claim Ajax for their own. But can she even trust Henry, who seems intent on winning Mary back? Now Mary has a new mystery to solve that's buried deeper than any dinosaur. She must uncover the secrets behind the society and the truth about Henry. As her conscience begins to chafe against her ambition, Mary must decide what lengths she's willing to go to finally belong, and what her heart really wants. So those are the March releases that I am especially excited to pick up. Let me know what you're planning to read next month. Do you have any books coming out that you're especially excited for, or are you planning to stick to some more backlist books? I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Please do like and subscribe, and I really hope that I'm going to see you in the next video. Goodbye.